My name is Naomi Ellis. I'm 27, and I learned two things the Thursday before my lease deposit cleared. My boyfriend wanted space, and apparently, timing can rot from the inside without making a sound. We were at our taco place, the one with paper menus and a jukebox that only knew 3 songs from the 90s, arguing about whether the new apartment would look bigger with a low sofa. We just put $500 down on the unit that week. I had a folder in my tote with measurements, paint swatches, and a dream of where morning light would land across a wall I hadn't even touched yet. Liam rested his forearms on the table like he was about to present a quarterly report. His voice went feathery serious. "We need to talk." There it was, the phrase nobody says before good news. I laughed without humor. "You rehearsed that in the bathroom mirror, or—" He twirled his napkin. "I'm 25, Naomi. I've only been with a few people. It's like—" He searched for a metaphor he could live with. Like I'm missing the exploration phase. I don't want to wake up at 30, resenting the life we built. My fork hovered, then lowered to the plate. We're moving in together, not waking up married with twins. But that's the path, right? His smile was brittle. Move in, then engagement, marriage, kids, PTA signups, and I need to explore what else is out there. There was a polite way to respond, and then there was the way the truth came out of me, uninvited. "So you want to break up to date around?" He nodded, as if he were confessing to the smallest sin in a church that forgave everything. "We can still be friends, and who knows? After I've had my fun, maybe we reconnect. You're definitely wife material, Naomi. Just not yet." Wife material, not yet. I pictured a label maker in his head, me on a shelf. A neat little tag. For later. "Liam," I said, keeping my voice steady, "if you leave to explore, we're done permanently." He actually laughed, warm and patronizing. "Don't be dramatic. People take breaks all the time." "This isn't a break. It's you ending 3 years, so you can sleep around with clean conscience." "That's not—" He sighed, auditioning for sympathetic. "You'll understand eventually. We're meant to be together. I just need to get this out of my system." What I heard wasn't romance. It was certainty that I'd wait in a glass case until he wanted to try me on again. I placed cash on the table for my half, slid my measuring folder into my tote, and stood. "Explore away, Liam. Hope you find what you're looking for." His mouth fell open. Maybe he'd imagined a speech. Maybe tears. Instead, I went home, emailed the landlord, and asked about the deposit. We'd paid from my card. The clause was merciless. Renters who back out lose $500. I swallowed it like a pill with no water and told myself tuition is always expensive, even when the class is just don't be someone's backup plan 101. Then I did something unfashionable. I blocked him on everything. Not dramatically, decisively. He wanted to explore, he could do it without me watching, without me being a brochure for the life he'd left on hold. The first weekend was narcotically quiet. I folded laundry on my bed and felt the empty space beside me like a bruise I couldn't stop pressing. Sunday morning, I arranged my fridge, the oats in front of the almond milk, strawberries on the top shelf, so I'd stop forgetting them. Ordinary things, pretending to be permanent. I didn't cry. I made a grocery list like I was the kind of woman who had always planned for this. 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Hey, it's Brent. Can we talk?" Brent was Liam's gym friend, the one who believed leg day built character. I deleted the text, then turned off the vibration. An hour later, I got a connection request on LinkedIn from Nora Parker, Liam's older sister. "Hi, Naomi. Random question. Will you be at Brent's birthday? Liam mentioned you two are taking some space, but he really misses you." Taking some space. As if I were a vacation he'd returned from tan and enlightened. I didn't respond. If I gave an inch, I knew exactly what would happen. My boundary would become a group project. The accidental run-ins started the next week. Liam at my coffee shop, where he once said the espresso tasted like burnt toast. Liam at my grocery store, standing in front of the strawberries. Liam at the bookstore I go to every Saturday. In the aisle with cookbooks because he knows I always pause there. "Naomi, wow. What are the odds?" The third time I answered, "Pretty high since you know my routine." He put a hand to his chest, hurt Prince. "I shop here too." "Since when? You said this place smells like a chiropractor's office." "People change," he said, and I watched a flicker cross his face, like he remembered a line he'd meant to deliver differently. I took my cart to self-checkout and walked out into a sunlight that felt like stage lighting. If I'd been the audience, I would have booed. Then came the stories from mutual friends. Liam's exploration phase looked like a catalog. Trips, clubs, someone's rooftop, a new smile every week. Pictures that would disappear after 24 hours, but not before landing in group chats. Meanwhile, my life was stubbornly ordinary. I joined a rec league basketball team for the first time since college. I took the coding boot camp my company offered. I got promoted to team lead. Productivity is unnervingly simple when you're not inventing dates out of thin air. I did not miss him. I missed the relief of believing I was chosen. The night the weather broke and the city smelled like wet dust, I came home to find Liam sitting on the step outside my building. He wore the gray hoodie I used to steal on cold mornings. He stood when he saw me. "We need to talk." "No, we don't." I brushed past. He followed to the door. "5 minutes, Naomi, please. You had 3 years. You traded them for 6 months of exploration. How's that going?" Tears gathered with polite efficiency. "I made a mistake, okay? I explored. I dated. And I learned that you're the one I want." I laughed. "I didn't mean to. I'm the one you want after test driving the lot? That's not how this works." "You're wife material." He said it like an apology penned by a PR firm. "I thought you would wait." There it was, the truth clicking into place like a lock. "Go home, Liam." He didn't. He sat back down on the step. "I'll wait. You'll realize we're meant to be together." I went inside, told the concierge my ex was trespassing, and watched building security escort him out while he yelled about fate and second chances. It should have ended there. But there are people who hear no and translate it to try a different angle. The campaign began in the cheeriest possible way. Flowers at my office, a huge, expensive arrangement that made my desk look like a bridal expo. The card read, "For my soulmate. Always yours, L." I carried it to the break room and left it for anyone who wanted nice things with no strings. An hour later, reception buzzed me. "Your boyfriend is here with your medication." My stomach dropped. I took the elevator down and found Liam holding a bag from the sandwich place we used to go to. "You forgot your lunch, babe." I didn't engage. "He's my ex," I told the guard. "Please remove him." "Naomi, don't be like this," Liam said softly, as if scripting my lines too. He watched me the way a person watches a locked door that they believe will open if they smile long enough. My manager asked if everything was okay. I told her the truth. Ex-boyfriend confused about the concept of ex. She nodded with that HR blend of sympathy and liability. That would have been the worst of it, except the internet exists. I had blocked Liam on everything. He created new accounts, comments on posts from 2 years ago with inside jokes only we'd understand, tags on mutual friends' photos, "Miss this day with my girl," then a letter on his Instagram about losing the love of his life to pride. He says became she says, but the shape of the manipulation stayed the same. If I loved him, I would forgive. If I respected myself, I would accept being the museum exhibit he visited between other tours. My friend Trevor sent screenshots. "Don't engage," he typed. "Don't give him ammo." I repeated it like a prayer. Don't engage. Don't feed the part of him that wants an audience. And yet the audience kept expanding. My mother called, genuinely confused. "Honey, Liam just called me crying about how you won't forgive him for, what did he say, a youthful mistake." I told her everything, from the tacos to the trespassing. Silence thickened, then Mom exhaled like a warning siren. "Oh, hell no. I like that boy, but hell no. I'll handle this." The next day, another unknown number crackled through my phone, a woman's voice already furious. "How dare you turn your mother against my son?" His mother. "Liam made one mistake. You're destroying him." "Mrs. Parker," I said, "your son made a choice. I've made mine. Please don't contact me again. You'll regret this. He was the best thing that ever happened to you." "Then why did he leave?" I asked, and the silence on the other end tasted like victory I didn't want. The calls kept coming, different phones, borrowed voices. The messages grew stranger. "I know you're home. I can see your light on." I called Anthony, my lawyer friend, and he was blunt. "Document everything. Every text, every voicemail, every gift, build a file." So I did. I learned the discipline of screenshots. I learned the choreography of saving voicemails and forwarding time-stamped emails to myself. I learned that the moment you say no, people show you who they really are. One night, through a private account that had never posted, a story popped up. A boomerang of a red silk tie, knotted by someone else's hands, captioned back where it belongs. The tie was one I'd bought Liam for his second work anniversary. The background of the boomerang wasn't his apartment. It was a bathroom I recognized from someone else's page months ago. Mia, his ex-girlfriend, the one he swore was ancient history. And suddenly, the performance made sense. Maybe I'd never been the only audience. Maybe I'd just been the one who refused to clap. Mere 2. 2 months after that night on the front step, I had stopped expecting peace. I'd started cataloging patterns. Every time I blocked a number, a new one appeared. Every silence from Liam was just the inhale before his next move. It was almost strategic, like he'd built a campaign plan. First came the gifts that weren't gifts. Flowers on my office desk again, a food delivery with no sender name, a Spotify playlist called For Naomi, our soundtrack. The songs were all ones I used to play while working late. Chasing Cars, Better Together, Apologize. He'd titled it Reconnection. Creepy and ironic, since I'd only listened to those songs when he was ignoring me during our last months together. Anthony, my lawyer friend, was blunt. This is textbook harassment. Keep everything. You'll need a pattern before a judge takes it seriously. So I did. Screenshots, photos, timestamps. But the strangest part wasn't Liam. It was the echo of her, his ex-girlfriend, Mia. Mia had once been a harmless footnote, the woman before me, the one who taught him not to rush love. But lately, she'd been posting cryptic things. Instagram captions like, "Funny how some women can't let go of what was never theirs. Some of us get haunted by ghosts wearing our old lipstick." And in the background of one post, I could swear I saw the faint reflection of my office building in a mirrored cafe window. The timing wasn't coincidence, it was choreography. A week later, my HR manager pinged me. "Naomi, there's someone in reception who says she's your friend." "A Mia?" I went cold. When I got downstairs, Mia smiled. Too bright, too staged. She wore the red silk blouse Liam once bought me. "Hey," she said softly, "you must be Naomi." "I am," I said, "and you must be very lost." She laughed. "No, I'm here for work, actually. I freelance PR for Liam's firm sometimes. We just ran into each other, and he mentioned you were struggling with the breakup. I thought maybe we could talk woman to woman." My jaw clenched. "He told you I was struggling?" "He worries about you," she said, eyes glinting. "He said you're documenting things now. That must be exhausting, living so paranoid." It wasn't subtle. It was intimidation, dressed as empathy. I smiled, matching her tone. Paranoia is just pattern recognition that's too honest for comfort. Her lips thinned. She handed me a small envelope. He asked me to pass this along. Inside, a Polaroid of Liam sitting on a park bench near my apartment, time-stamped 2 nights ago. On the back, "You don't have to be scared. We're meant to find our way back." That night, I called Anthony again. "He's using her now," I said. "She's helping him watch me." "Then we build your file faster," he said. "Start recording everything." So I did. Every time my phone rang, I hit record. Every shadow I passed on my way home, I photographed. It felt ridiculous, but survival often looks like paranoia to the people who never had to prove they were in danger. Then, the escalation. Liam started showing up everywhere. Outside my gym, pretending to jog. At my bus stop, headphones in, eyes pretending not to look. At my favorite bakery, buying one muffin, never eating it, always leaving when I did. And the timing? Always perfect, as if someone fed him my schedule. One morning, my coworker Jules leaned over and whispered, "That guy in the lobby, he's been here since 8, keeps asking if you're in yet." I peeked through the blinds. Liam stood by the front desk holding a paper bag. He looked thinner, paler, but his smile was still that salesman smile that used to sell me promises I couldn't return. I called security before I even left my office. They escorted him out, but as he passed the window, he mouthed something. "You'll regret this." That night, my mother's phone lit up again. "Naomi," she whispered, "someone just called pretending to be your boss. Said you'd been in an accident and needed me to come get you." The police officer who took my statement called it a scare tactic. To me, it was proof. Liam was desperate to break reality until I walked back into the one he controlled. And through it all, Mia kept posting. Photos of sunsets with captions like, "Some people only understand love when it's too late," or "Forgiveness is a language cowards refuse to learn." But then came the post that made my hands shake. A picture of a basketball court, empty at night, under streetlights. Caption: "He's not alone anymore, but she'll learn what that costs." That court was where I played every Thursday. The reflection in the puddle showed two silhouettes, one tall, one smaller, both blurred, but unmistakably recent. Anthony filed the paperwork for an emergency restraining order the next morning. It would take a court date to make it official, but at least it started the clock. Still, the anxiety didn't wait for legal confirmation. I started sleeping with the lights on. I double-checked my locks twice every night. Sometimes I'd hear footsteps in the hall and imagine Liam's hand against the door. I told myself fear was temporary. It's just a fever the body uses to burn out denial. But denial doesn't go quietly. It fights for the version of love that once made sense. And mine fought hardest when I met Caleb. He was in my coding cohort. Quiet, kind eyes, the kind of man who read documentation for fun. He asked me to coffee once after class, then twice. We started talking about work, then about everything else. Music, travel, how both of us overwatered plants because we didn't like watching things die. It wasn't love, it was stillness. And after months of noise, stillness felt revolutionary. Until the night it was interrupted. Saturday, mid-September. Caleb and I went to a cozy Italian place downtown. Dim lights, old jazz, safe conversation. We were halfway through pasta when Caleb's voice faltered. "Naomi," he whispered, "don't panic, but there's someone watching us." I turned. Slow, deliberate. At the bar, a man in a dark suit sat with a glass of red wine. He raised it in a mock toast, his mouth forming the same words as his last message. "We're meant to be together." Liam, Part 3. For a second, my brain refused to accept what my eyes saw. Liam looked too composed. Pressed suit, clean shave, the faintest smirk that said, "I rehearsed this scene, and you're late to your cue." He wasn't drunk. He wasn't deranged. He was performing. Caleb caught my trembling hand under the table. "Do you want to leave?" "No," I said. My voice was steady, but my pulse was sprinting. "He wants a reaction. Let's not give him one." When I turned back, Liam was already walking over, wineglass in hand, that red tie around his neck. My red tie. The one I'd given him before his first big client pitch, the one I saw in Mia's photo 2 weeks ago. So this wasn't coincidence. This was message delivery. "Naomi," he said smoothly. "What a surprise." I stared at him. "You really need to update your dictionary. This is called stalking." He smiled wider, ignoring Caleb. "Who's your friend?" Caleb extended a hand, calm, polite, lethal. "Caleb Foster." Liam didn't take it. He looked at me instead. "Naomi, can we talk outside?" "No," I said simply. "We can't talk anywhere." "Come on," Liam coaxed. "You don't have to pretend for him." Caleb leaned in slightly. "She's not pretending. You are." That wiped the smile off Liam's face. His voice sharpened. "You think this is real? You think she loves you?" "Stop," I said quietly. "Liam, you need to leave." He shook his head. "You belong with me. You said we were meant to last." That was before I learned how temporary your word is. For a second, I saw something flicker in his eyes, not anger, but confusion. Like I'd rewritten his script mid-performance and he didn't know his next line. Then came the crash. He reached across the table, maybe to grab my phone, maybe my wrist, I'll never know. But his arm hit Caleb's wineglass. Red spilled across the tablecloth, splashing Caleb's white shirt. The sound cut through the music, through the chatter. Heads turned. "Sir, is there a problem here?" the manager asked, appearing from nowhere. Liam pointed at me. "This is my girlfriend. She's just X," I corrected, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. "Who's been told to leave me alone?" A waiter pulled out his phone. "Should I call the police?" "Yes," I said. Liam's mask cracked. "You'd really do that? After everything we've been?" "You did that," I said. "Every visit, every fake lunch, every photo. You did this." He looked around like he could still charm the witnesses. "You don't understand. I'm trying to fix us." Caleb stood up, calm but solid between us. "There's nothing left to fix." Liam's voice broke. "She was mine first." It was the last thing he managed before security arrived. They asked him to step outside, and he went, muttering something about how I'd regret humiliating him. When he was finally gone, the restaurant fell into the kind of silence that only happens after public chaos. The manager returned, apologetic, offered towels and free dessert. Caleb half laughed, half sighed. Well, that's one way to make an impression. I tried to smile, but my hands were still shaking. First date stories don't usually include police involvement. Hey, he said gently. At least it's memorable. By the time the officers arrived, Liam had vanished. But the damage wasn't done. It was documented. Caleb's stained shirt, the manager's statement, other diners' accounts. It was finally enough proof for the court to take me seriously. Anthony filed the formal petition that night. Now it's official, he said. We'll get a temporary restraining order until the hearing. Just hang tight. Easier said than done. That night, I didn't sleep. Every creak in my apartment sounded like a knock. At 2:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. Private number. A voicemail. I played it, hands trembling. I saw you tonight. You looked beautiful. The lights were on in your kitchen. I didn't want to scare you, so I stayed outside. He paused. But I saw him touch you, and that's when I knew. You're lost, Naomi. You don't know what love is, but I'll remind you. Click. My throat went dry. I checked the blinds, all closed. Then I checked my security camera feed. The motion detector had triggered at 10:47 p.m. A shape, blurry, tall, pacing near my door for nearly 3 minutes. Anthony's voice echoed in my head. Document everything. So I saved the footage, the voicemail, every shiver that came with them. 3 days later, Liam posted another Instagram photo. This one wasn't cryptic. It was a mirror selfie in front of his bathroom sink, captioned, "Sometimes you have to lose everything to remember who you are. Some people just need more convincing." In the background, the same red tie hung neatly on the rack. But there was another detail, a shadow reflected in the mirror's corner, small, feminine. Mia. It wasn't hard to piece together anymore. They weren't adversaries. They were allies, bound by obsession, each trying to prove something to the other. I stopped sleeping entirely that week, but I started preparing. Every piece of evidence printed, time-stamped, labeled, every photo and message backed up on drives and in cloud folders, because the next time I saw Liam, it wouldn't be on a doorstep or in a restaurant. It would be in front of a judge. Part 4. The courthouse smelled like paper, fear, and cheap coffee, that faint mix of bureaucracy and broken promises. I stood outside courtroom 2B, clutching a folder so thick it could have doubled as a weapon. Every page inside was a piece of my sanity turned into evidence, screenshots, police reports, voicemail transcripts, photos of flowers, timestamps of door camera alerts. Proof that love, when twisted hard enough, becomes surveillance. Anthony adjusted his tie beside me. Stay calm. Speak only when the judge asks. You've got this. Across the hall, Liam arrived. A white button-down, clean haircut, the kind of polished remorse you could order from a catalog. Beside him stood his mother, face pinched tight with fury, and a lawyer who looked like he'd been plucked off a bus bench advertisement. Behind them, almost hidden, was Mia. She wasn't supposed to be there, but she hovered just outside the courtroom door, clutching a folder of her own. When our eyes met, she didn't glare. She smiled, slow and satisfied, like she'd already read the ending and didn't mind who burned getting there. The bailiff called our case. Inside, the courtroom felt smaller than it should. The judge, a middle-aged woman with the calm patience of someone who'd seen too many sad love stories, adjusted her glasses and looked between us. Ms. Ellis, she said, you're seeking a restraining order against Mr. Parker? Yes, Your Honor. Liam's lawyer rose. Your Honor, this is all a misunderstanding between two adults who shared a meaningful relationship. My client merely wanted closure. The judge flipped through the first few pages of my evidence file. Closure? Is that what we're calling repeated unwanted contact, surveillance, and uninvited appearances at her home and workplace? Liam shifted in his seat. That's not... I was trying to apologize. She wouldn't answer my calls. The judge looked unimpressed. And your response was to create new phone numbers, fake social accounts, and appear at her office unannounced? His lawyer cleared his throat. He was acting out of emotional distress, Your Honor. Love can make people... Violate boundaries? She cut in. I'm aware. Then she turned to me. Ms. Ellis, you provided a video clip from your door camera, dated September 9th, 10:47 p.m. Can you describe it? I nodded, voice steady. That's him pacing outside my apartment for 3 minutes. I also included the voicemail he left right after. The clerk pressed play on a small recorder. Liam's voice filled the room, low, calm, chillingly intimate. I saw you tonight. I didn't want to scare you, so I stayed outside. You could hear a woman gasp quietly in the gallery, maybe one of the clerks. Liam's lawyer froze. Even his own mother's eyes darted away. The judge exhaled through her nose. Mr. Parker, anything to add? Liam's jaw flexed. I love her. I made mistakes, yes, but I'm not dangerous. She's exaggerating. Anthony stood. Your Honor, we have records of 23 attempts at contact after Ms. Ellis blocked him, plus physical appearances corroborated by witnesses. There's nothing exaggerated about fear when it's documented. The judge leaned back. Understood. She shuffled papers again, then frowned. And what's this? A social media post from Ms. Dawson. That's Miss Mia Dawson? Anthony nodded. Mr. Parker's former partner, Your Honor. She's been acting in coordination with him. The geotag on this post matches the victim's workplace. The judge's gaze snapped to Liam. Were you sharing Ms. Ellis's location with this individual? Liam blinked. I might have mentioned... Enough, the judge said sharply. Mr. Parker, emotional distress is not a license to terrorize someone. Liam's lawyer tried one last angle. He's remorseful, Your Honor. He's seeking therapy. The judge interrupted. Then he can continue that therapy 500 feet away from Ms. Ellis for the next 2 years. Bang of the gavel. It was over. I didn't breathe until the bailiff said, You're free to go, Ms. Ellis. Outside, I walked past Mia, who finally spoke. You think you won, she whispered. I don't play games, I said quietly. That's why I leave them early. Her smile cracked. Liam only did what I told him to do, she hissed. I wanted to see if he'd still chase you. Guess he did. The words hit like ice. So she'd been the one behind those coincidences, the one feeding him my schedule, the one stirring his obsession until it burned through both of them. The campaign hadn't been just him. It had been a duet. Anthony stepped in between us. Walk away, Miss Dawson, unless you'd like a matching restraining order. Mia's expression flickered. Guilt, then fury. She turned and stormed down the hallway. Liam didn't follow. He just stood there, deflated, like the performance had ended and no one clapped. In the weeks that followed, life became eerily quiet. No calls, no flowers, no accidental sightings. Liam lost his job at the marketing firm. HR cited inappropriate personal conduct. Mia's social media turned into a carousel of quotes about healing from narcissistic abuse and finding your power again. The irony was almost poetic. One evening, Caleb dropped by with Thai takeout. He placed the boxes on my counter, looked around my living room, the lights soft, the locks replaced, and said, It feels lighter in here. It does, I admitted. Like the air remembered, it's allowed to move. He smiled, hesitant. You ever think about what you'd say to him if you could? I thought about that. About Liam, about Mia, about the endless cycle of people who call obsession romance, because they can't tell the difference. Then I said, I'd tell him this. Love isn't something you chase when it walks away. It's something you respect enough to let go. Caleb nodded. That's actually beautiful. Pain usually is, I said, half smiling. 3 months later, I still get the occasional text from my mom. Thank God you didn't marry that man. And I always reply, me too. Sometimes, though, I scroll through old photos, not because I miss him, but because I need to remember how small I once made myself to fit inside someone else's comfort zone, and how good it felt to finally step out. The funny thing, if Liam had just broken up honestly, no performance, no obsession, no campaign, I might have forgiven him someday. But he didn't want forgiveness. He wanted control. And when I stopped playing my part, his story fell apart. That's the truth about people who can't let go. They don't love you. They love the echo of how much you once loved them. And echoes fade.